Nordic countries consistently rank as the happiest in the world, making it seem like life here in Finland or in Sweden, Norway, Denmark or Iceland is as joyful as it gets. But if you visit here, you might not see what you expect. No big smiles from strangers, no high energy excitement, no intense expressions of joy. Instead, happiness here feels quieter. That's because Nordic happiness is not about constant positivity, it's about peace of mind. Actually, if you look at Gallup's Global Emotions Report, which measures how often people smile, laugh or feel excitement, the top ranking countries are mostly in Latin America and Southeast Asia, places where happiness is more social, more outward. In those cultures, joy is often expressed through big gatherings, music and community, and that's one way of measuring happiness. The World Happiness Report, which consistently ranks Nordic countries at the top, looks at something else entirely. It's based on long-term life satisfaction, not just daily emotions. It measures things like financial security, trust in the government, work-life balance, and overall well-being. So even if Nordic people don't seem outwardly cheerful all the time, they still report feeling deeply satisfied with life. This is why from the outside, Nordic happiness might look kind of boring. No extreme highs or lows, no pressure to always be smiling, just quiet enjoyment of life. In many cultures, people feel pressured to always be upbeat, to push through stress with a smile. That's not a thing here. If someone is tired, they just look tired. If they don't feel like talking, they just don't. And that is not seen as rude, it's just normal. So if you want to imagine this visually, this happiness, in some cultures it might look like laughter and parties, but in the Nordics it looks like sitting by a lake in silence. So if you visit and wonder why people don't seem overly cheerful, it's not because they are unhappy, they are just peacefully content. By the way, sorry if I sound a little bit weird in this video. I have had this sore throat now. It's getting much better already, but I still have this weird voice that I cannot get rid of, but I hope you'll still enjoy the video. The second one is bureaucracy is intense, but there's a reward if you get through it. Nordic countries have well-functioning systems. Healthcare, benefits, and public services are all reliable. But I have to say, getting set up is not that easy. Moving, working, or dealing with official documents can feel like an endless process. I experienced this firsthand when my partner moved here from Italy. It took many months of back and forth paperwork, visiting so many different offices and waiting on approvals. The good part is that once you are in, you rarely have to deal with bureaucracy again, at least that much. So all the taxes, healthcare, and social benefits are automated. There's no fighting with insurance companies or chasing invoices. Daily life runs smoothly and there's very little paperwork to handle later. But getting to that point takes time, and for many professionals moving to Finland, handling everything alone is not ideal. That's why today's sponsor, Nerdsbay, exists to make the process much easier. If you're planning to move to Finland but want to keep working for an international employer, figuring out the legal side can be overwhelming. There's the taxes, payroll, social security, contracts. It's a lot to handle on your own. That's where Nerdsbay helps to make things simple. They act as your official employer in Finland through what is called an employer of record service. This means you don't have to go through the hassle of setting up a company or navigating complex employment laws. You keep working for your international employer and they take care of everything else there. Employment contracts, payroll, social security, sick leave, paid vacation, all this stuff, while ensuring full compliance with Finnish labor laws. Here's one practical example. So Simon and Kate moved to Finland with their 3-year-old daughter, and Simon was able to continue working remotely for his employer thanks to Nerdsbay. The entire process took just over a month. That is, I'm telling you, a huge difference compared to the months of uncertainty most people face. And it's not just about legalities. Nerdsbay has built a community of over 10,000 skilled professionals who have been through the same process. So whether you need advice, support, or just want to connect with others who have made the move, It's a network designed to help you. If you are interested in moving to Finland and working hassle-free, you can learn more on their website. There is a link in the description. The third thing is almost everyone speaks English, but there's a catch. The Nordic countries are among the best non-native English-speaking regions in the whole world. In cities, almost everyone under 50 speaks fluent English, and even in smaller towns, most people understand enough to get by. But actually, people here often underestimate their own English skills. They might say, oh, I'm not that good, but then go on to speak almost perfect English. And even older generations manage quite well. My 87-year-old grandfather still travels abroad every once in a while and gets by just fine in English. So actually, when you think about it, it is completely possible to live in the Nordics for years or even decades without speaking the local language almost at all. Most jobs in international companies use English here, and nearly every service has an option for it. Public transportation, menus in restaurants and government websites often have translations available that makes it very easy. So all this is very convenient, of course, but it also makes learning the local language much harder because the environment doesn't force you to learn. And if you try to speak the local language, if you are studying it, people often switch to English right away. It's not because they don't appreciate your effort, it's actually meant to be helpful. They just assume that it is way easier for you to speak in English than their language. It is efficient, but for anyone trying to learn the language, it can be really frustrating. So to actually improve, you have to insist on continuing in the local language even when they switch. But despite all this, and despite being able to survive just in English, trying to learn the local language is, I think, still very valuable wherever you are, and people will always respect you a lot for it. Number 4, extreme seasonal changes. The difference between summer and winter here is very extreme. It's not just a change in temperature, it feels like two completely different countries. Winter here isn't just snowy, it is dark. In the far north, the sun doesn't rise for weeks or even months. In Svalbard, Norway, for example, the polar night, as it's called, lasts from late November to mid-January. That means total darkness for over 2 months. Even in the southern parts of the Nordic countries, winter days are extremely short. The sun might rise around 10 a.m. and set again by 3 p.m. So this lack of daylight of course affects energy levels, and it's common to feel more tired, less motivated, and even experience this seasonal depression when the sun barely makes an appearance. And then suddenly everything flips. In summer, the sun barely sets or doesn't even set at all. In Svalbard, the extreme light situation now continues in the complete other direction. So summer brings the midnight sun from April 20th to August 23rd. That's over 4 months without a single night, like actual night when it's dark, as the sun stays above the horizon the entire time. Even in the south, there's still light well past midnight. The sun dips toward the horizon like just a bit, but it never truly gets dark. After months of darkness and cold, the light and warmth bring everything back to life. Like the cafes fill up and parks are packed and the entire atmosphere shifts. But as extreme as it is, it's one of the things many Nordic people love the most, myself included. The fifth one is silent politeness. In many countries, politeness is about words, saying please, sir, madam, excuse me, and making conversations to show your friendliness. Smiling at strangers, greeting people very warmly, and asking about someone's day, even like casually, are all seen as basic manners. But in the Nordic culture, politeness is much more about actions than actual words. People don't feel the need to express politeness in a way that makes others feel good through conversation. Instead, they show respect by being efficient and giving others space and not making unnecessary demands. Nordic languages actually don't even have a direct translation for please in the same way English does. In Swedish, requests often just use kan du or skulle du kunna, which in English means can you or could you. It's direct but not considered rude. In Finnish, people use voisitko, which means could you, and also ole hyvä, which actually means here you go, not please. Instead of adding extra words to soften a request, people keep it short and to the point, but with their tone and phrasing, they make it sound polite. And overusing polite phrases can actually sound passive-aggressive instead of nice. So excessive thank yous or overly formal language can come across as unnatural, like you are trying too hard. Number 6, the big difference between North and South. Denmark and Iceland are a bit different, but in Norway, Sweden and Finland, there's a clear divide. The South is where most people live, while the North is vast and much less populated. In Finland, for example, about 80% of the population lives in the southern third of the country, while the North, Lapland, is mostly small towns and open wilderness. Sweden has an even more extreme divide. The northern part of the country covers nearly 60% of Sweden's land area, but is home only to about 12% of the population. The further north you go, the fewer people you will find. In some areas, the nearest grocery store, hospital, or even in some cases the neighbor can be tens of kilometers away. Roads stretch endlessly through forests and people are more self-sufficient simply because they have to be. So this difference isn't just about population, it also shapes how life feels. In the south, cities are well connected and full of international influences, and in the north, it's quieter, more traditional, and life is really shaped by extreme weathers. Schools are often small, and for some students, getting to class means traveling very long distances. While tourism, especially for Northern Lights trips and outdoor adventures, has brought in more visitors and life to the north, daily life in these areas looks quite different still compared to the south, where everything is close and accessible. The 7th one is quite interesting. People here are lottery winners, but they don't realize it. There's a common saying in Finland that being born here is like winning the lottery. Free healthcare, high quality education, financial safety nets and low crime rates make life here very stable and predictable. But when you have always had these things, it's very easy to take them for granted. In many parts of the world, people worry daily about things that aren't even a thought in the Nordic countries. Since major life struggles are mostly taken care of, here the focus shifts to smaller inconveniences, like people get frustrated about high taxes, but they don't realize that they actually pay for the security and benefits that most people cannot even imagine. People complain about the bad weather, but at the same time, they have warm homes, reliable infrastructure and safety even in extreme conditions. For many Nordic people, traveling or living abroad is the first time they truly realize how good they have it. I had this experience myself when I moved away at 20 years old. Seeing places with poor infrastructure, big wealth gaps and like actual homelessness for the first time made me appreciate the stability I grew up with. The things I once thought were just normal were actually luxuries compared to what many people face daily. This doesn't mean that Nordic countries are perfect, every place has its problems, but the baseline quality of life is incredibly high compared to most of the world. And honestly, I wish more people here could see that and feel grateful for what we have. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to check out Nerdsbay in the description below if you are interested, and also to stay kind and meaningful in your own beautiful journey. See you in the next one.